All right, welcome back. First Gen Wealth episode, whatever. We're here again. So as you probably have realized from other podcasts, we kind of record back to back. And I was really hating our last episode. Got me all pissed off and depressed. So we're going to talk about some more shit that pisses us off. No, not really.
More real estate.
No, I want to lead in. Like, we're going to share a couple of stories and maybe some red flags, some warning signs, but maybe good, bad, and the ugly kind of an episode with investing in real estate. So I recently had a good. I mean, I had a great. So to the point where we should be smoking cigars and drinking scotch right now.
You talking about Friday? Friday's closing?
I had a Friday.
We should be doing that.
Yeah, I had a Friday closing that was very nice. Very nice.
Much anticipated.
Oh, yeah. Much anticipated. Office product, so it took a long while to get it across the finish line, just due to the bank's appetite for office product right now. But we did.
You say office product, what do you mean?
I'm saying a building that is deemed an office building. So you look at, headlines nationally, and it's the death of office or whatever. You're seeing there's actually companies giving office towers back to the bank. COVID, absolutely devastated large market, the big office markets like the Austins, the New York Cities, and San Francisco, places that have giant towers with tenants that are taking 80, 120,000 square feet, massive office space. And then just left because people weren't coming into the office. So Chicago's another one. So that's, they're looking at doing conversions in that. So anyway, you see these national headlines, and these guys that sit on these bank boards, they're like, oh my God, we can't lend to office. And it's like, well, Owasso's not the same. Bay City's not the same.
It's all regional. It always is regional.
It's very regional, but but that's their job, is to protect their money. So anyway, this deal took probably 5 months longer than I wanted to, but at the end of the day, we got a nice little payday, and very good day on Friday. The wire hit.
And this is like you've talked in the past about you took a property, it was undervalued, it was vacant for the most part.
100% vacant.
100% vacant. So you bought this building.
Yep.
Do some renovations,
Yep.
Start filling up the space, and it's mixed use. So you got some office, this business here, this business here.
Well, that was the big thing I had to convince the appraisers.
That it's mixed use and not
office space. The
office
appraisers and the banks, that it was actually more of a neighborhood center. It was mixed use. I mean, but you look at the tenant lineup, there's your traditional office, users, some doctors and things of that nature. But I got yoga studio, I got juice bar, I got hair, nails, massage, so it was more mixed. So we got it there.
Yeah.
Long story
so
short.
cash out refi.
It was a cash out refi. So I got a big chunk of money that I don't pay taxes on, which is my favorite thing in the world to do.
Two favorite things: getting big chunks of money and not paying taxes.
Yeah.
Two things.
Yeah. The worst part about it, though, is you got come Monday, we got to figure out where to spend it all. So.
I think it was already spent several Mondays prior.
But it was a good day. It was a good day. It was a lead up. I mean, we took that project on up in Bay City, and it was a piece of crap building, really, 100% vacant, not a single soul renting there. We got it for a good price that we could afford to do some major rehab on it. Adam Bronson's been up there. He's a agent here at Woodworth Commercial, working his butt off, get that place leased up. He's done a fantastic job, and we got her done.
Yeah, this is where I think you deserve a lot of credit, because your vision and enthusiasm is unlike anyone I've ever met. So, because you showed me this property before you bought it, and I remember thinking, I'm like, this ain't gonna fucking work. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah. And I'm like, because there's, sometimes you'll say, hey, do you want a part of this one? I'm like, no, I'll pass. Do you want a part of this one? Okay, let's do it. And you gave me an opportunity, I think, to be a part of, small part of this deal that you're talking about. And I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't know, it's Bay City, it's far away, it's a big piece of dump.
60,000 square foot.
It's a massive building.
60,000 vacant square feet with nothing done in it since 1980, whatever.
And it was a hard pass for me, quick hard pass, and I'm not regretting that. But I think it's just really cool when that vision comes to life of, I saw this, nobody else did, and here's what we did, and now Friday you close on it, you get it, you get a
Really,
big chunk
all
of
I
money.
get is my money back.
But at the same time, now you have this cash flowing asset.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yep.
that has a mixed use of tenants.
Yep.
Which you have either brand new businesses that were able to start something because of the space that you created, or they've expanded and moved, relocated. So I think it's just really cool to sit here and see from the sidelines some of the stuff you do, because a lot of times I'm more involved.
Yeah, and that one took a pretty good sales job getting those tenants in. That's why I was shouting out Adam Bronson. I mean, we got creative on how we did our initial rents. We gave some deals off in the beginning because we knew we needed to get some momentum, and then we could build off of it. So we were able to get a couple of tenants, but they were only willing. A few of them were only willing to sign a 1-year lease because they were like, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but this place is a piece of crap. Well, they've all renewed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they've all renewed, and we're actually working on another, I think four more leases that encompass over 7,000 square feet between them. So, gonna be a really solid investment overall, and that was a good one. So there are some bad ones.
Yeah.
And I've been actually plugged in on a bad one. That's part of the reason why my eyes probably twitching. I told you, it's actually happening. Watch it. No, but it does. It's twitching.
Yeah.
Because of this other property that I bought that I had the same vision for, right? That is not quite panned out.
Is that out in Mount Morris?
That is Mount Morris Township. That is Vanderbilt Townhomes, 144 units. So, in hindsight, I try to think about how I could have done some things differently, right?
This is another one that you invited me in on the front too.
You're smart to say no on this one.
So even out, I passed on Bay City, which maybe I shouldn't have. I passed on this one, which
You
so far
definitely-
a win for me.
You are winning on this one, because I have been doing manual labor over there, trying to kind of re-energize the focus. We hired a new, actually terrific maintenance guy over there. Paid a little bit more than what we've been paying in the past, but you get what you pay for. This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's already proven multiple times, just in a short amount of time he's been there, which is only 2 weeks, that this was the best decision we've ever made over there. So this was a market that is lower income housing, a lot of Section 8 tenants. It's a demographic that I really didn't have a lot of experience with, but the price was so cheap. We thought, we could go in, spend some money, and then fill it up and flip it. Well, it had, the timing was pretty off. I mean, we closed February 2020. I don't know if you know what happened in March of 2020, but we closed down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And then it turned into a year and a half
of where you couldn't evict people.
Couldn't evict people. It was bad. It was really bad. But really just going into something that I've never really dealt with before, I probably should have done a little bit more due diligence. And what I learned from, actually when we've gone out and actually talked to some people that are interested in maybe buying it from us, they want to see insurance loss runs, and they want to see police reports from the local municipalities, just to kind of see the story behind the story, right? And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. Probably wished I would have asked for those things.
When you say loss, not your insurance runs,
yeah.
So your claims.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, my claims, any insurance claims, and then the police reports is a big one, because they want to see, how many times are the local police officers going out there. And when we got it in the beginning, it was a lot. I mean, daily, multiple times daily.
Yeah.
We had some pretty serious crimes happen.
Yeah, you showed me one of those.
Yeah, we had
captured
somebody
on video.
get
It's
shot
like, oh my
in broad
gosh.
daylight in our parking lot. It was neither one of them were our tenants. The murderer or the murderee. Murder. America loves murder. Anyway, yeah, that kind of crap was happening. I mean, those weren't our tenants, but they were there on our property. And now, it's gotten so much better, but that took serious involvement, something that I wasn't, planning on doing.
Yeah, we have to stop because that murder, the thing you just did there, that's an inside joke.
Murder. Oh,
which
yeah.
is very out of, like, people are going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Jim and I went to Michael Costa. I don't know. Google Michael Costa. Great comedian. This was one of his jokes. Sorry. Yeah. That was very much out of
it was very weird. I just saw Michael look up like, what the heck is he doing?
That was an inside joke. Nobody else understood what I was talking about.
So check out Michael Costa. He's hosting a daily show here and there. So
he did a skit on murder in America, and it was funny. My brother got it. You guys think I'm nuts. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. So really, I think doing your due diligence, you can't underscore that enough on getting to know a project and a property in a market that you're not familiar with. There's probably not enough that you can do. So that was a good lesson learned. But now, we're very much focused in there. Like I said, I've been there physically quite a bit lately, and will continue to do so until we're looking at basically doubling the amount of Section 8 money that we're getting there, so that we can take it back out to market and eventually sell it. So
as tenants either move or are evicted or through just natural attrition, the goal is to attract Section 8 tenants.
Yep.
To replace them.
Yeah, because that voucher money, getting that on a third of the month.
Yeah, and Section 8 money is basically government assisted or rent assistance where they're getting some type of housing allowance.
Yeah, and we're trying to provide we've always been very focused on trying to provide a very nice product there. We've got 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes. So they're, you got a basement and then 2 stories. New appliances, new fixings, the furnace, the hot water heater, all of those things. And trying to get a nice product for an affordable rate. We're actually below the Section 8 limits. Our 2 bedrooms there are like $700 a month. Our 3 bedrooms are like $800 a month, which you can't really find that, with a washer and dryer and, all of this stuff. Did a lot in the grounds where we improved the grounds. So we've done a lot to kind of bring level of tenant that we want while still making it affordable for that market. And we're going to eventually get out and the goal here is not to make money at this moment in time. It's to break even and get our money back. But it ain't going to happen hoping and wishing and praying. I got to physically get in there and, manage it myself. So,
well, it's a lot of money on the table. So to break even at this point would be a huge win. Darren Partain, your new maintenance guy.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, he was the very first person that I had to physically ask for a raise in person.
Oh yeah.
So he was the plant manager at Bourne Industries, and I was working there the night shift during college, on summer break and stuff. And I remember first off, that job sucks. So it's very just you're standing in one spot, put the board on a machine, put the board back, put the board on a machine. You know what I mean? It's just you're just standing there for 10 hours. It sucks. And I was making $10 an hour, I think. And they hire a lot of temps, through Kelly Services or whatever, because it's cheaper than hiring full-time guys, going through all that employment stuff, employment tax, and then they end up quitting or they end up getting fired because, that particular job is only made for a certain set of people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just decide to quit after a week, whatever. So they hire temps, and Mom worked there. And so I found out what they were paying the temps.
Oh.
And obviously more than me. They weren't making more than me, but they would pay they'd pay the temp guy $10 an hour, plus they'd pay the temp agency $3 an hour.
Right.
Because they gotta, they're filling their staffing. So I use that as leverage. I'm cheaper than the temps, and I was a better worker than the temps. So I asked for a raise, and he agreed to do it. And I was going in, I was 19 or whatever, just extremely nervous, and got it done.
Yeah.
So props to Darren for giving me that raise.
Yeah, he's great.
Learn some negotiating skills.
He's been terrific over there. Look, I hope he enjoys it as much as we enjoy him. So he seems to be taking right to it. And we needed somebody that can be self-motivated, understands a lot of different aspects of maintenance, plumbing, electrical, all the above. And he does, and he doesn't need coaching.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that is very meticulous, and he's borderline perfectionist, or probably a perfectionist. So it's like, matter of fact, when I wrote the ad for the job, I said, must be able to fix a sink drain once and never go back. Because we looked through our reports on our maintenance calls, and there'll be the same service call on the for a leaky sink drain 4 and 5 times. And it's like, you're never going to get ahead when you have to go back to do the same job over and over and over when it should be one and done. And so
from now on, all sink repairs, just get a new sink.
Yeah, well, no, but they would hook it up wrong.
Right? Yeah, no, it's just stupid stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, so that one I think is a bad one, but it'll turn out okay. But I think what the point is, the due diligence, right? Like,
well, you said due diligence. So like police reports, insurance. I remember you had this under contract with one buyer, and you took a phone call, and I was with you, and they were asking questions about like how many street or like lamp posts, street lamp posts are there, because there should, in their mind there should be X many lamp posts per units, and you're like, what the heck's this guy even like talking about lamp posts? Like, but that's somebody who obviously must have had a lot of experience with complexes like this, where if you don't have enough lamp posts and there's not enough street lights, then maybe the police reports are at a higher percentage as a result of that.
Yep.
I don't know. Like it's like things you wouldn't think of, like, what's this place look like at night? Because it was probably an out-of-town investor that was looking at buying it. They just look at the cap rates and look at, so he's not going to be physically on site. So they have all this checklist of things that they got to look for, and how many lamp posts per units was one of those things. That's
a good stat. Never heard that one.
Well,
I do recall that.
Yeah,
I do recall it. Yeah, it's funny.
So due diligence is certainly, but we've also talked, like you and I, that's one of our probably maybe not so great qualities, is the lack of due diligence. Like,
well, it's because in our own backyard we think we know it all.
Yeah, we see something, we want something, we'll make it happen. And but there's been I wouldn't say like anything that's been significant, but there have been a couple projects we've been involved with that have not gone the way we thought, or have not gone as quickly as we would have thought. Some of it was maybe due diligence on the building or the tenants. Some of it might have been due diligence on our partners that we were involved with, good and bad. There's been like partners that have been really good, and there's been partners that have been not so great. So due diligence comes in all sorts of things, not just the project itself, but who you're getting yourself involved with during that project.
Well, and I think as you get into investment in real estate, you just should learn to expect a surprise. Like, something's going to change, and if you've positioned yourself properly, you can absorb that change. But if it's a major malfunction in a mechanical part of the building, especially early on, that can really devastate you. So we've talked about that in the past, about just buying right and having your eyes wide open going into a project. But even still, there's always some sort of surprise. And then you've got the fun, sometimes dealing with, tenant relations, right? Have you had ever, all your experience with tenants always 100% positive, or
100% positive in one way? Yeah, I guess positive that I don't like them, or positive that I don't pay, or
well, you made a statement.
Yeah, I've got a tenant that's getting ready to move out. So, and he's been a good tenant, and I'm just thinking, like, you hear sometimes people complain about their tenant or their landlord, and I'm just thinking, like, you have a shitty landlord because you are a shitty tenant. Without knowing anything about you, you are a shitty tenant, because if you're a great tenant, your landlord is probably a great landlord because they want to make concessions. They want to keep you happy. They want you to stay. But I can think of one person in particular that would think I am just an absolutely the worst landlord. It's because I want you out of my house. Because I should show pictures of the way they left it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't pay on time. Like, first of all, if your rent's due on the 1st of the month, I always think, it's okay if it comes in on the 30th or 31st of the month prior. That's okay. You can pay a day or two early. But consistently days or, even a week late, like, you're a pain in the ass already, and then you're messy. So, so I'm an asshole tenant, or an asshole landlord, but really it's because I don't want you in my property anymore. So let's get this term over with and let's get you out.
Right.
So I think there is something to say for that. Like, if you're a good tenant, you pay on time, you're clean, you've got great communication. If by chance there is that one-off situation where you're going to be late, you're proactive in your communication, you've got a plan in place.
Your landlord's going to work with you.
I love you. And if you've got that little minor repair that, should it be me or should it be you that does that? I don't care. Yeah, let's just get it done. Let's keep it happy.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
So even in the commercial space, that's even more like, because the lease will, be very specific as to you're responsible for that repair or the landlord's responsible for that repair. But again, if it's a situation where there's any type of gray area, hey, let's just split it. Or, hey, we'll go ahead and take care of this. But in the future, here's what the lease says, and you're responsible for this. So just know going forward that this is your responsibility. Well, when they know that, then maybe they are now more proactive about maintenance ahead of time and keeping things in order. So I think that there just has to be a lot to be said about, if you're a tenant, you have a responsibility to maintain that property as if it were your own and treat your landlord with respect, and it'll be given back to you. I promise.
100%.
99.9% of the time.
Well, most of the time it will. And we manage a ton of tenants, like hundreds and hundreds of tenants. So I can't, obviously I don't have a personal relationship with a lot of them. Somebody here does, in our office. But, when I got to get involved, and it's something that the tenant is just, believe it or not, some of them are just jerks. We implemented the red paper. The red paper. So I'll tell you what this is. Like, I'm like, all right, make a note, print it on red paper, and put it in the file so that when it comes time to renew, we don't want them. If they have, if they've got 3 different freaking situations where they're just absolute jerks, and it's like, no, we're not gonna renew. You probably think I'm a horrible landlord. Well, I'm not gonna work with you because you don't pay on time, you don't take care of stuff. And I can find somebody else that will. So no, you don't think I'm a good landlord, but guess what? You're not a good tenant. so I think there's definitely some truth to that. So when you see those things that, and people, of course, we talked about in our last episode, the keyboard warriors, right? Will just like take to Facebook or whatever and say, my landlord is an asshole or whatever. I've always thought, oh, you probably didn't pay.
You don't hear a lot of people that are, and again, there's always an exception to the rule.
Sure.
But my initial reaction is just like that. Like, okay, yep, you didn't pay, or you are just an absolute slob. Something just a pain in the ass.
We've seen. I mean, I do not understand how some people live in the conditions that they do. Like, your home, whether you own it or not, is yours. That's your box. Everybody's got to have one. Some of them are just actual boxes, but for the most part, our country has places to live, right? And you should just take care of that. Like, that's your home. Like, dogs do a better job of taking care of where they sleep than some of the people that we've dealt with. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of garbage that just collects, and we pay for garbage. So it makes 0 sense for it to collect, right? And they live in this filth, and those are the tenants that make it very hard to be a landlord.
Yeah.
And so I actually was driving with somebody not too long ago, and he was talking about how every tenant that he worked for a company, whatever, they would actually go and look in their car to see if the inside of their car was clean or not. Because they're like, if their car's filthy, their house is going to be filthy. We're not going to rent to them. Because as a landlord, that costs you so they could stay there for a full year and then move out, and you're going to spend every single nickel that they gave you redoing that tenant or redoing that unit.
Yeah, all new carpet. You got to paint it all. You got to,
Yeah.
So that's one of the, I think that is a phenomenal, and I've actually done this where now, the same 3-unit where I've got a tenant moving out, like I had them meet me at the place as I'm walking by their car, like I'm looking, and I remember thinking like, gosh darn it, she's got tinted windows. But I want to see like if they got Wendy's wrappers, that are just all over the place and boxes and clothes and whatever. Like you're absolutely right. Like what's their bedroom going to look like? What's their kitchen going to look like? I don't want them in the house.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about this red flag before. Like sometimes landlords can feel a sense of desperation. Like I need to get a tenant in. It's been 3 months. Like, now I'm starting to pay for this and now it's eating into my savings. You cannot rent to somebody who is telling you that they want to give you the security deposit in cash, the first month's rent in cash, and the second month's rent all at once. Because that initial reaction, oh my God, thank God, like I get this, I needed this money so bad, like now I can replenish my savings. It is a huge red flag when somebody is telling you, I want to pay my first 3 months in advance, because that is typically the only money you'll get.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the hard way too many times, and I just, nope, I don't want your cash. If you can't write a check, like if you're not a big boy enough to have a checking account at a bank, like I don't want you as a tenant.
Yeah.
Unless I just know like you're a cash guy, like based on your line of work or something. But for the most part, like no, I don't want you in there. And that's a huge red flag when they're trying to pay in advance.
So the tenants that are listening, or anybody, like Jim said, be a big boy. So you gotta do it. You're adult. Sometimes you gotta be an adult. It's time to start adulting. Yes, you should have a checking account. If you have a job, you should have a checking account. You should learn how to manage your money, and clean. You're an adult. Mom or dad isn't cleaning up after you anymore. You need to take care of that yourself. And you don't have to like be a OCD neat freak, but you can't live in filth. Like you got to just pick up after yourself, people. It's time to be an adult. So if you're out there trying to live on your own, then act like you can. Okay, right? Is that a little harsh?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing too, like, so you're a tenant. We've talked about this in the past too. Like, you need to protect yourself with a lease.
Yeah.
Because I've seen too many times where people go to month, where I have clients that now, let's say, you might be a great tenant, but your landlord, his plans might change. And now he wants to sell because he needs money.
Yeah.
Or he's moving. Or whatever the case may be, he's got to put his kids through college, and now he's selling this property that you live in, and you're not protected with a lease. Well, guess what's going to happen? You got to move, and you got 30 days to move.
Yeah.
Once that house goes under contract. So I've got a client right now that's buying a property, and it's occupied with a tenant that's month to month. So he made the offer contingent upon the current landlord evicting.
Yeah.
Well, the guy just left everything. He'd lived there 20 years.
Wow.
And now is like telling the landlord, you've set my life on fire. Like this is, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life anymore. You really screwed me over. He just left everything. 20 years of stuff and just left. And so now this landlord has to get it all out. It's going to cost him a couple $1,000s to have everything moved out of the house.
You talking about Kenny?
I don't want to mention any names, but yeah. But now Kenny is the asshole. Like, that's my point. Like, So now Kenny is that asshole landlord.
Yeah.
Well,
why didn't you have a lease? Either one of you.
Or adult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like, okay, you have to figure out a place to go. I understand that can be challenging. There's a lack of housing.
Yeah.
Like, but just to leave all your stuff, like,
No,
and just like,
I saw those photos.
it's like, and it's not like, and it's stuff packed like from floor to ceiling. Like this
Yeah.
guy was a collector of things.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Kenny's the bad guy? Like, no, like he owned the house. You were month to month. At any point in time, you could have said, hey, like, I want to do a lease, but you may not know that. So I understand, like, if you've been renting your whole life, you may not know that that could happen.
Yeah.
Or you may not know that, like, I should probably have a lease, and it, like, just mentally be prepared that at any point in time, I could be asked to leave. This isn't my house. I don't own it. I don't live here, or I just live here.
Yep.
So this just and I hear stories like that all the time where it's like, you know, what, you're kicking me out, or, you know, like, well, it's my house. Like my plans have changed. I'm sorry, but like, I'm not taking you into consideration at the top of my list of things when I have to figure out my own financial picture and my own life. So
goes back to the importance of owning your own box.
Owning your own box, and or like, you know, understand that leases
will protect you from that.
Leases will protect you to some extent. Like if, hey, my lease is up next, you know, whatever, September. So I probably should start thinking about, like, okay, having conversations with my landlord. Hey, I want to stay here. Am I going to be able to renew my lease for a year? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you could. There should never be a time where that
should not be
come
like
as
a
surprise.
huge surprise. If you're month to month,
it can.
You're month to month.
Yep.
So you have to be living like, you know, as a minimalist. You have to understand, like, at any point in time, like within the next 2 to 6 weeks, I got to go.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So see our episode, The Importance of the Lease, because we go into a lot of detail on that, and it is important for both parties for the reasons Jim just explained. But so what about you? What's your favorite real estate deal to date?
My favorite.
And then you're gonna give it to me, and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah.
All right, my favorite real estate deal to date. I think it's my first commercial deal.
Yeah.
Just because it was so quick and so easy.
Oh, we've talked about that one.
Yeah. There's others, but I think like
so that's like it's like crack.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
I gave you that first taste, and it was so nice.
It wasn't a huge deal. It didn't make a ton of money, but at the same time, like, speaking of month-to-month tenants, this guy was a month-to-month tenant when I bought the property, and he wasn't a great month-to-month tenant. Like, he, you know, would pay me a couple $100, and then I'll get you the other couple $100 in a couple weeks. So I had zero like regret of like having to get him out of there. But similar thing, he owned a car repair shop, had tons of stuff, and the last part of the deal was, I understand you're behind $3,000 in rent. I want that car. We'll call it even.
Yeah.
Boom. Took the car, closed on it the next day, sold. He was evicted. But that's how, like, sometimes business has to be done. Like, so it was a cool little 48 Chevy.
You sold it.
I did sell it. Did you
get your 3,000 out of it?
It was a car. It was a shell of a car with all of the parts throughout the entire car in the trunk. So I had a guy put it all back together, which cost me a lot of money.
Oh, man.
Cool little car. Drove it a few times and then sold it. But all in all, did really well on the building.
Yep.
And it was quick. I had it probably for 6 or 7 months and made like, I don't know, $30,000 or $40,000. I don't remember what the number was, but that was like, to me, my first taste of, wow, this is something that can be fun and exciting. And so yeah, my next favorite is yet to come.
Yeah. All right. That was a good deal.
It's a good deal. Yeah. Bought it for like 75 and
sold it for 120
125 or something. And nice. Yeah, it was a good deal.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. I don't know how many minutes, Micah. 34 minutes. Fair. That's good. Good enough.
Hope you got to work on time.
Oh yeah. The commuter podcast. All right, so that's a wrap. This has been First Gen Wealth. We'll see you next time. Don't know what the topic's gonna be. Gonna be awesome. Thanks.